That was not how I thought it was going to go. Welcome on into the SEC Unfiltered postgame show. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson, and we break down the Cotton Bowl, which we'll get into those comments in a minute. As Ohio State, a team that lost to Michigan, clinches a spot in the college football national championship. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification, and subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Mock 10 Sports, me at Miss Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This post-game show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Ladies and gentlemen, the college football season is winding down, but you know what's about to heat on up? College basketball. Then you got college baseball. You can go to an NHL game. You can go pay attention to the NBA. What if, say, your favorite comedian comes to town? Well, you want to buy tickets? Go to the Game Time app. Use promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. $20 off simply by going to the Game Time app using promo code SECU. Catch a show, catch a flick, catch whatever you want on the SEC Unfiltered crew. Yeah, Dave, so I'm going to address the elephant in the room. If you are here from Twitter because of you want to talk about the cactus joke, just put a cactus in the comments section. I greatly would appreciate it. Secondly, to my friend Freedom that I just met this past week, congratulations. Ohio State won a football game, and they won a dominant football game. They looked like the superior team that is going into now the national championship as a 9.5-point favorite. They are absolutely built to win a title, and it is a testament to how this team has responded. But Dave, as much as you want to say that Texas was outworked, good God, that 2nd and 1 play will live in infamy for as long as Sark is still there and until he brings home a title. That 2nd and 1 play will be the dagger that is twist and turn and will be a part of Longhorn culture, will be a part of Texas lore, will be a part of everything that we know about this program underneath Steve Sarkisian until he can win the big one. Because I don't know how you respond from that.
That one, 100% agree, Bear. And then also the screen before the half.
Yeah.
It can't happen. I mean, even Coach Saban was a little more bullish on it. He talked about him being aggressive, and we were talking about it in our SEC Unfiltered group chat, Bear. Or it's like you go back and you watch it. It's like, I mean, they only brought 4. Granted, one of them was from the secondary, but they dropped back another linebacker. So they only brought 4. I wouldn't say they were overly aggressive. It's just we looked at them, we screenshotted it. And they were just bad angles. There was a wall there, and 2 guys went in the same gap, and you had a guy missed a tackle. And you had a guy, and give credit to Ohio State receiver who came back, circled back, and made a block. But that shouldn't have happened. That should not have happened. That was a killer. And like you said, 2nd and goal. Texas had their opportunities. They had their opportunities. Will Howard didn't look like he did the first 2 games for a little bit. Give him credit. He made plays when he had to. But, man, just Ohio State, it's tough to go 12 rounds with the Buckeyes right now. You got to play well all game. They give you a little hope tonight. Texas, again, I think it was going to take for Texas to win this game. Ohio State to scale it down a little bit, not play as well as they have been naturally, and Texas to probably play the best game they had played all year. It looked like it could have been that way, but like I was telling you off air, this game, outside of probably both teams scoring one more time each offensively, the game probably went about how I thought. I thought Ohio State would score at the end to make it a double-digit win and make it look worse than the actual game was.
Jack Sawyer had, without a doubt, the biggest play of the year. The 80-yard touchdown return. I mean, the 97-yard touchdown return, which, by the way, let me also make this clear. Dave, did you know that is now the all-time longest play for a defensive fumble in college football playoff history, going back to 2014? It's longer than the Jameis fumble back in 2014. So that's what we're talking about. It's that dominant of a play. But the thing that's really frustrating is that you look back at the minor miscues. I really was intrigued with how well Texas defense played tonight. They absolutely were phenomenal outside of a couple of miscues. You go back and you watch them. The fact that they were able to kind of turn the script of what we saw going out of the break into the Michigan script, where you got a little bit too cute with the play calling, and then you get a David Benda interception, and you get a good 3rd down stop by David Benda, and you get the pump back. And you start to see a little bit more life in the play calling of the offense at times. You watch this Arch Manning goes on in, takes the 4th down call, brilliant 4th down call by Steve Sarkisian to go ahead and keep the ball moving. Guess what happens? You score in the following drive. Guess what? Jaden Blue's in the end zone. There were so many moments where you look at this team and you say, they got the momentum. They're moving in the right direction. They now have stabilized what they want to be. And defensively, they were in it for 4 quarters. You're going to eventually give up a point. you're eventually going to have your break moment. You did. It was a 4th down call. Will Howard utilized his legs. He hasn't done it all year, but I said that he was going to have a big-time run in the preview. He had the run, 18 yards, nearly got into the end zone. Michael Taft stops him. And then you watch as a guy in Quinshon Judkins that joined the program this past offseason. When they had a good running back, but they didn't need another running back, they just wanted a running back, he goes ahead and takes a lead. There were so many moments where the offense just needed to find the identity and a spark. They couldn't do it. And it happened on both sides. I mean, you got to go ahead and say that as much as you can appreciate the way that Ryan Day didn't shit the bed in multiple instances, the play calling, at least in the 3rd quarter, was abysmal. And the penalties, 9 penalties for Ohio State, that shot them in the foot. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been out of hand early, but yet still, there's some things you can take away if you're proud of if you're Texas. There's a lot of things that you got to correct, and now the season's over.
Yeah, no, I thought Herbstreit made a good point on it. It felt like, I mean, not because Texas had a chance to last heave at the end of the Sugar Bowl last year against Washington. It felt a little bit like that. It's like, man, are they going to come back? It's going to come down to a final play. I mean, it could have been, it could have, but I mean, no. I mean, across the board, though, I mean, this is going to take Texas's best effort. Again, they did not get that best effort when they had opportunities to go take advantage, take the momentum of the game. They just didn't take those opportunities. They didn't take advantage of those opportunities. And it doesn't mean Texas played bad tonight. They could have beat a lot of teams, I think, tonight. Again, Ohio State, a really good football team right now. It takes, I don't know if anyone can go 12 rounds with them. I'll be interested to see what that line opens up in the national championship game.
9.5.
8.5, 9.
9.5. 9.5 is the early line.
Is that what it is officially?
Yeah, the early line is 9.5. Let me ask you.
8.5, 9.
Let me ask you. There were a couple things I want to break down about just this game in general. When you look at Jaden Blue, he has been vitally underutilized going into this game because if he only had 5 carries in the matchup against Arizona State, I understand that he's had a fumbling issue, but you've watched as he has gotten better as a pass catcher. They used him on passing downs. Why did they not get him more involved early on? Why did they try to shy away from the run before you were going to really have to go ahead and trust it? Why did they not go ahead and trust that 23 was your best option to take a lot of pressure off of Quinn Ewers? Because it felt like, yes, Ewers was erratic tonight. He just announced that he was probably going to go pro. It makes a lot of sense that he's leaving Texas. Archie's in the wings. They got to go ahead and start it. But what did you think about them kind of shying away from the run? And when they did, it was Wisner, especially when you watch the way that Blue had played down the stretch, especially to close out the year.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes these running back rotations are always questioned. You've seen it like LSU with Frank Wilson before. But like in certain games, it's kind of like, why was he kind of the hot hand tonight? And again, I don't know. It's something internally. It was a big thing with Ole Miss this year. Remember Ulysses Bentley? Why was Ulysses Bentley not playing? Like everybody was always wondering why they weren't playing anymore. This will be, to your point, Bear, with the 2nd and goal call would be something I think a lot of people will be looking back on and make, why was that? I mean, it's going to be very looked upon on because we're going to be prisoners of the moment, big game. People are going to remember this one. Came down to, I'm going to say this game, maybe the wire is a stretch, and probably is.
It was the wire.
It was a 4th quarter game.
No, I mean, it was.
Took down they were in the red zone, 4th down, and it just happened to be a strip sack return for a fumble. I mean, it is what it is. But no, I mean, yeah, I think to your point, I think it'll be something people will be second guessing.
I just wonder, why did you not trust the run game a little bit more? Because if everyone wants to complain about Quinn, I'm not going to sit here and defend Quinn. Quinn had terrible body control in the pocket. He had horrendous pocket awareness in the first half. He made some good throws. He made a lot of errant throws. Not going to be able to defend him on this one. What I will say is you had the drops, but also you didn't trust your run game. And that has been a question that I've been wondering about all year. Why do teams shy away from the run? Ohio State did it too. I'm not going to sit here and act like Ohio State didn't have its moments, because Ohio State, there were so many drives where you watch as they were trying to force feed. They were trying to get Jeremiah Smith or Emeka Ibuka. Carnell Tate stepped on up. Really good game. By the way, if you guys didn't know, Carnell Tate is the number 3 receiver there. He would be a number 1 at about, I would say, 95 schools in America. Like, that's how talented of a player the kid from Chicago is. And he's the number 3 on this Buckeye squad. But it felt like that they didn't trust the run. You have Travion Henderson. You have Quinshon Judkins. You have Jaden Blue. Why are you trying to get the passing game going when sometimes the best thing for you is to flip the script and make teams feel like that they're not opposed or approaching what they game plan for? People knew you were throwing on 2nd down. People knew that you were going to Matthew Golden when he was healthy. They knew you were trying to find Gunnar Helm. So why not just trust the run game and put an emphasis on that even if you lose a yard. Because the last thing you want to see was them living in 2nd and 15 or 2nd and long because they just try to pass it every single drive.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Do you think this was also a game, too? I thought it was going to rear its ugly head at some point for Texas. And this may be a whole season thing. I know this is a little random. But the C.J. Baxter injury, how much better is this offense? I mean, it can't be worse. But
No, it's not worse.
It can only be better, but how much improved would it be with him? And like, what is the play call in second down then? I don't know, hindsight 2020, we all get injuries, but it's like those early injuries we don't account for and forget about that come back kind of towards the end of the year potentially. You're sitting back there, you're like, dang, that could have been one.
Much better, probably. I would say maybe like an 8 overall, like consider what it was.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have changed that much because you watch as Jared Gibson stepped on up. You watch as Jaden Blue had a really good season when he wasn't fumbling the football. Wisner had some moments in the year. So I don't think it would be that much different. I think that you would have more options. You would have more explosivity. You'd be able to trust what you're looking for in certain play designs, and that would allow Baxter to be able to kind of pile drive his way forward. I think that is kind of what you're looking at there. Right before half, the drive that they were able to get in the end zone and tie it at 7 apiece. I thought that was such a smart drive and a smart play to bring in Arch Manning, which is going to my next point. Why did you not have more of that? Why did you not have more of the creativity? Because of when Sark gets creative with his offense, it can be one of the most mesmerizing, dazzling, overall perfect options in college football. But when he tries to get cute, or when he tries to just go to the script that's not working, it backfires. You watch as the play unfolds. Great design to have Gunnar Helm lined up under center. You think that you're going to go run it. Snap to his legs, man to the outside. Good block by, I think it was Wisner on the play, or maybe it was Jaden Blue, to be able to get upfield. Could have been a fumble. Wasn't a fumble. Good it wasn't a fumble. Why didn't you have more of those designs? Because especially in the second half, even if you know that he's running, it gives you an advantage. Remember, Arch is one of the fastest players on this team, and it gives them an advantage to be able to take that next jump forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think Sark feels the pressure when Quinn Ewers is playing, that he has to draw up these perfect plays, so it gets a little too cute at times. It'll be interesting next year when Arch Manning is the full-time starter, maybe feels a little bit more comfortable with him. I think you're going to have to use his legs a little bit, though. I know Sark's openly stated he's not big on utilizing the quarterback in the running game, which I get. You don't want your most important player to get hurt. But I feel like in today's time, it's just a big weapon, and I think it's one of Arch's strengths. So that'll be interesting. But I don't know. I think Quinn just puts I think he gets stressed out in the middle of the game. So Quinn and Sark knew about, all right, Quinn's not feeling it. Confidence is gone. I got to get in my bag here and start dialing up stuff. And it gets a little too cute at times. So I think the Quinn Ewers era at Texas it was solid, man. You made 2 playoff appearances, won a conference championship, played for a conference championship in your first year in the SEC. It's just, I feel like it's kind of hit its ceiling here. And I think maybe not right now, but as years go on, both parties, Quinn Ewers and Sark, would probably tell you, like, we just could never really fit, but it just never totally clicked.
We'll get to Quinn in a moment. I do still want to focus in on how this game plan was, because of when you look at the second half, the fact that Texas was still able to play exceptional defense and the way they were able to get a turnover on the opening drive, force a 3 and out in the next drive, despite knowing that they had a really good play tandem, couple more punts, that kind of showed me the volume of how elite Texas defense was this year. Because I continue to preach the entire season that we're looking too much into the offense. You know what Quinn is. You know what this offense is. You know that Sark gets cute. You know that there are play designs after play designs that you're baffling and want to ram your head into a wall because you're saying, why would you, God on earth, think that that's going to work? But yet Texas finds a way to win because their defense is elite. The performance that we saw tonight, Dave, yes, they gave up 21 points. That's an elite defense. That is the reason why Texas got to the semifinals. That is the reason why Texas was able to be a competitor in the SEC year one. That was the reason why Texas was able to be a contender for a college football playoff berth. That was why Texas went to Atlanta, was its defense. And they reared their head and put together a good game plan in this third quarter to give the offense any shot of being able to bring this team back. And they were able to. One drive, 19-yard touchdown to Jaden Blue. Now tied at 14 going into the fourth.
Yeah, I think they played better than I expected. Again, I thought both offenses would score a little bit more, not much more. But yeah, give Texas's defensive line credit. I thought that was an advantage they had in this game. That was one. If they were to win this football game, it was going to be up front on the defensive line because they had an advantage there until Ohio State. I thought they played well tonight. Just Texas, Ohio State it's a monster right now. What they have done in that run game, changing that scheme up, it's tough. But I think Texas held up strong. That defensive line overachieved this year, especially when you factor in the 2 guys they lost on the interior last year. So, yeah, you got to be fired up by that Texas team. They faced a great wide receiver group. They held their own. Yeah, I would agree. I think Texas from top to bottom this year was the best defense in the SEC. Two things can be true at once. You always say, were they overly tested week in, week out at quarterback? No, but I think they held their own. I think this was a very impressive performance against a really good wide receiver unit. They were consistent week to week, and you can take what it is from the strength of schedule standpoint. So I'm with you. I'm fired up about Pete Kwiatkowski and this Texas defense in the future.
When you give up 24 receptions for 289 yards, you're saying to yourself, okay, well, how many of them went to Jeremiah Smith? 1 catch for 3 yards. That was a game plan that you had to go in. That was a game plan that you had to have from the moment, from the get-go. The other thing that was really important was that this defense was able to get pressure on Will Howard. 9 tackles for losses, 4 sacks on the day, and Hill was balling on out. David Bennett was balling on out. They had a phenomenal opportunity to be able to take an advantage. They just couldn't get done. They just couldn't find a way to
play before the half, Cole. Again, and that's what it takes to play against Ohio State right now, the level they are playing. To go in Ohio State didn't even play close to what they played against Oregon and Tennessee, and still won. That's the level you have to play to raise the levels right there. The Texas defense played good, I think, for most of the night.
I think the Texas defense played great most of the night.
I'd give them a B+ for the night. But that one play at the end of the half essentially cost you the game because the game's different. Games approach differently if we're tied with 4 or 5 minutes left in the game.
If you're tied at 7-7 going into the last 18 seconds, yeah, you're going to treat it a little bit differently. The other thing that I thought was really,
I was saying at the end of the game, like last 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, say you take away those 7 points there, hypothetically.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So then if
you took that away, they were tied.
So that's 14-14.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden being hurt, I think, for most of the second half. Most of the first half really hurt Quinn's passing attack. And I'm not saying that he would have made it any better. I'm not saying that he would have fixed all of Quinn's woes because of the Gunnar Helm play that people were saying was a target call. That was just an overthrown ball that, again, you had to go ahead and try and get a jump on up. Then you look at the couple passes that were going to Ryan Wingo, the one that many people thought was a pass interference call. It was on his outside shoulder. But you got to realize, in the biggest game of the year, your number one receiver gets hurt in the first quarter. He's limited. He comes on out. He gets a face mask call against Josh Simon, goes to the locker room, doesn't come back out for the entire second quarter, out for most of the third quarter, comes back in, makes 2 big-time catches. That really, really hurt, I think, the passing attack because of what happens is a team like Texas knows that if Matthew Golden is covered, what's going to happen? Other players are going to open on up. You're going to get Gunnar Helm more involved. You're going to get Ryan Wingo more involved. You're going to get Silas Bolden involved. You're going to get Isaiah Baum when he's fully healthy involved. You're going to get all these other receivers because they're targeting number 2. So then when that got taken away, you watched as I think Sark had to try and game up something with the checkdowns, with the quick throws, and they just didn't have that same connectivity the way that you have it with Matthew Golden.
And that's what I say going into this preview. If the run game can't consistently get going, and it didn't, you're going to have to rely on Quinn and put the game on his shoulders. Quinn Ewers, I think all Texas fans would agree with me on this. You appreciate what he has brought to the table the last 3 years. It's been a phenomenal run, conference championship. You've been back-to-back playoffs. You do tip of the cap. I just think you've reached your ceiling here. It is what it is, but I don't think Quinn can go win you that title that you want because Quinn, again, doesn't anticipate as a thrower. He doesn't throw people open. Plays have to be perfect for him. The script has to be perfect for him, which is fine. When it is, it's a thing of beauty. Quinn can carve you up. But most of the time, it puts a lot of pressure on the play caller and Sark. So I think Arch will be a little better. I think the only thing Sark might have to adjust a little bit is the willingness to run and play to Arch's strengths from that perspective. But no, Bear, what'd you think of the call on Gunnar Helm, the personal foul?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Referees, stay home if you're going to do that shit. Honestly, this is not a sport for you. I tell people all the time, I'm sick and tired of everyone saying, he missed a hold. It's like, guys, they're going to miss about 20% of the holds that are actually in the game. If you don't like holds, college football is not the sport for you. It is one of the most dangerous things that I continuously see, and people complain about nonstop. Get on over it. Let the boys play. He wasn't pointing down at a Bodson or Ransom. I think it was Ransom. He wasn't pointing down at him. What he was doing is he was pointing forward, first down, 15-yard penalty. I mean, you make up for it because if you get a play to Matthew Golden on the opposing drive, but you have to change at the play calling. You see that every single week in these type of matchups. This is the biggest game of the year, and you're going to go ahead and give a 15-yard penalty. And it's completely different than the Travion Henderson one. Like, I'm going to give a lot of credit. Ohio State, they found a way to be able to capitalize on a 13-play, 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter that absolutely put Caleb Downs. That was it. He didn't point at Caleb Downs. He pointed forward. Like, the Travion Henderson play, he gets up and he bangs his head into somebody. I understand why you call that a sports remote. I understand why you call that one. You're pointing. It's a point. What are we doing? 15 are you like if you want to be Charmin soft with that shit, by all means, make sure that you bring enough toilet paper to wipe everyone's ass, because the only thing that you're doing is you're helping out another team. I thought it was ridiculous.
It's a weird call. Very strange. You know, it's kind of like maybe if you're the ref, you go up to the kid and like, hey man, don't do that again. And that situation in this game, again, and I'm not usually a guy, I hate being this guy. I really do. Kind of call myself out. I don't like being that guy in that situation. Don't call it, because again, if it's a strike in that situation, if it's a strike in the first inning, it's a strike in the ninth inning. If it's a foul in the first half, it's a foul in the second half. Like, it's a foul, whatever. But like in that, when it's a judgment call, I mean, it's a clear judgment call. It's like, hey man, cut it out. We're not calling that. I don't want to have to call that on you here in this situation. That's yeah, I'm with you. I didn't like that one either.
Here was the defining thing that happened in this game that I don't think that we're going to talk enough about. In every single loss Texas had this season, what was the same common trait?
Lack of a run game.
They didn't play a consistent offense. They did not play a 4-quarter offense. They lost every single game because of it. They got
clunky in the run game every game. It was almost like death taxes in Texas got clunky in the middle of the second, third quarters.
Texas has not played a full 4-quarter game all year, but especially in all three losses. They were either inconsistent in the run game, which forced them to pass early. They were unable to establish a consistent basis on third down. They were terrible on executing on third down. Play calling in the red zone was atrocious at best.
It was even a struggle last year.
And every single team found a way to lose. So it stinks. The second and goal will forever be a play that lives in the back of Steve Sarkisian's mind, because of that is what we talk about when we say things get cute, things get out of control. Like this is what Steve Sarkisian does. It's annoying. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's got to work on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still think that they're good. I mean, they're fine with Sark. I'm not saying you're saying they're not. So you feel good about them. Just it's Ohio State team, man. It's almost like I'm more like this game went about how I thought. Again, like I mentioned, I thought it'd be a little higher scoring, but this Ohio State team's just a buzzsaw right now, man. I'm just kind of like, I didn't think Texas played that bad, and the only reason why we're judging them negatively a little bit right now, Bears, because we're talking about the opportunities they missed on. Remember, we're sitting here like in this middle of this game, like, all right, Texas, you can go tie this thing up, or all right, Texas, here we go. And it's like you just couldn't take advantage of big turnover, big penalty. Like I think overall, though, Texas probably would have beat a lot of teams today in the sport.
No, they would have.
Like that. Because, again, you mentioned it earlier, Bear, and I totally agree with you. The defense, as much as consistent, as often as the offense every week, write it down, was a clunky offense. The defense was the exact opposite from a positive perspective, though, in consistency. You knew they were showing up most nights. I mean, what would you say, Bear? Their probably worst game in the secondary was Clemson probably all year. But yeah, again, I think we tipped to the cap a little bit to like Cade Klubnik and then making plays.
Well, also think about it, Dave. We talked about why every other matchup in the college football playoff first round was a blowout. Why wasn't Texas for a while? Texas found a way to be able to get a 14-point win, and they found a way to respond. But it's blue chip talent versus blue chip talent. There was always a scenario out there where Texas would have been able to give up multiple explosive plays because Clemson has the dudes. They just hadn't shown up in the ACC at times this year. And they didn't show up against Clemson. And they didn't show up against Georgia. And they didn't show up against South Carolina. But it's not like that there wasn't talent on the outside at wide receiver that could beat anybody. And they did. It nearly came back and brought Texas in there. So, unfortunately, Like, that's what happened in this game. Not this one, but in that game. I thought this game, the defense played out of its mind. They did a great job of pressuring a good quarterback who is hot as all hell in Will Howard. They just allowed a couple plays that just didn't go your way. The screen play, you have 25 yards in between you and Travion Henderson and the next defender. The fourth down play, fourth and short. It's a 17-yard run by Will Howard. Phenomenal play design by Chip Kelly and Ryan Day. Absolutely brilliant to be able to put yourself in that position. And then you just don't get a couple stops. I mean, like, that's all it was for Texas defense. And the offense didn't give you life. That's what happened. If Texas has one drive in the first half that just goes somewhat consistent, imagine if they convert on the opening drive. Imagine if they end up getting the job done and they get a full fresh with their set downs. Maybe it's a different story. But it's not like that you can say that Ohio State didn't come to play. Ohio State is one of the best defenses in college football. Ohio State has one of the most dynamic offenses in college football when it wants to. Ohio State has the ability to run every single play under the sun and make it work. Ohio State can win every game by 25,000 points. They can also lose every single game by a point. They could. That's how talented they are. They, on paper, are the best team in the sport. And shame on me for not giving them more praise. But unfortunately, Texas shot itself in the foot multiple times. I'm not saying that Ohio State didn't deserve to win. I'm not saying that Ohio State didn't earn the win, because Ohio State 100% did. They beat the brakes off of everybody except for Texas, and even still, it's a 14-point win. You get a big time turnover by Jack Sawyer, who's going to be in infamy down there for the rest of the life. So it's a 14-point swing. 100% they earned that win and dominated. But Texas had its opportunities, and they shoveled it away. Whether it was drop passes, whether it was inconsistent play design, whether it was terrible execution inside the red zone, whether it was not getting a stop on fourth down, whatever you want to say, Texas had its chances. It didn't be able to have it done.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, it left some meat on the bone, as I always like to say. But again, I keep going back. Since that first game, I was just like, I submitted my final bracket predictions, and I was like, man, I'm picking Ohio State to beat Tennessee. And I don't like that I'm picking them to lose to Oregon, because I feel like they will beat them a second time. I was like, I should have picked them to win the whole thing. I should have rolled with my first initial instinct. I regret it. They look like a hot UConn basketball team with prime Dan Hurley from like 2 years ago. That's just like they'll go through a little lull, but it's like, man, when they're clicking at the right time, they're impossible to beat. That's what Ohio State looks like. Bear, what do you think? What's your initial instincts rolling into that? Were you like Ohio State or Notre Dame?
It's Ohio State right now. Again, Ohio State, if they don't have that third quarter game plan for 4 quarters against the Fighting Irish, they're going to win that game. And they're going to win by 14, and they're going to cover the spread, and they're going to be the national champions. That's what we say. I mean, 100%. That's the way I feel. Let's talk about Quinn Ewers. Quinn's going to go either pro. He's announced today he's going pro. He may come back and do a Carson Beck and go to the transfer portal. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But he has played his last down at Texas. This was his final play will be an interception at Texas. What's his legacy? What really is his legacy when you think about it? Because there's going to be a lot of people that have their thoughts, that have opinions. I necessarily disagree with some of them. I understand, prisoner of the moment. But what is the legacy of Quinn Ewers when we look back 20 years from now?
I kind of went over it earlier. I mean, I'll repeat it for the people so we've added some live listeners here. And guys, I appreciate you joining us. It's the road to 20,000. Let's get to 20,000 subscribers before January 20th, the national championship night. Go to the SEC Unfiltered channel and like, subscribe, rate, review. But to answer Cole's question here, said it earlier. I think, again, 2 things can be true at once. You got Quinn Ewers, who had a phenomenal career here. Again, 1 conference title, 2 playoff appearances. I think you just hit a ceiling with him. And again, it's like I said in the preview, why I didn't think Texas could ultimately get the job done in this game and do what it was going to take to beat this team, like I keep saying, a buzzsaw of this Ohio State team right now. I don't think Quinn Ewers, when the game is on his shoulders and, hey, you have to go carry a team, can really go do it unless everything is scripted, on time, nothing goes wrong. I mean, kind of think about the games on the road where what kind of adversity did they really overcome in Ann Arbor to win that game? What kind of adversity even last year did they really overcome to lose to Alabama? They kind of controlled that game from start to finish. Jalen Milroe's first real start against a good team. Like, I don't know. It just kind of felt like they were never really challenged in that game. Even though, I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like when Quinn Ewers gets hit in the mouth, he can bounce back. It's a little bit, and I hate saying that. I think he had a phenomenal career at Texas. I think Texas fans should be proud of him. And a South Lake Carroll kid, a Texas kid, like, phenomenal career at Texas. I just think you're at that ceiling, and it's a very high ceiling. It's a very high ceiling. I mean, look where we're at. Back-to-back years, Bears, Final Four, semifinals. We're almost there. It's just, is it Arch Manning? I mean, I think that's the easy answer right now to say. We'll see. I mean, do we think Arch Manning takes Texas to back-to-back semis? I don't know. I think two things can be true at once. I think you can go get better, but I also think Arch Manning's floor is going to be a little higher. I mean, Quinn Ewers' floor at times is really bad. But no, I think phenomenal Texas career. It's just didn't win a national championship, but hey, you won a Big 12 title, played for an SEC title. Really good career at Texas. I think Texas fans should be really appreciative of him. I think he's really appreciative of his time in Austin. So I like Quinn Ewers. Good kid, good college athlete across the board. I think he's going to have a good legacy at Texas.
Quinn Ewers was a 3-year starter. On top of that, he has over 30 wins with the program. On top of that, he has multiple top 10 wins. He led his team to a Big 12 title, a top 10 victory over Alabama on the road by double digits with Nick Saban on the opposing sideline. He comes in, he gets a massive victory over Oklahoma State, where he sets a Big 12 record on his way to the college football playoff, and he gets to lead the conference as now the record sharer that probably we won't see be broken in a while. He's a throw away from taking Texas to a national championship in his own backyard. Well, Texas, I mean, in Texas, he's in Houston. He takes his team to an 11-1 record in his first season in the SEC, goes to the conference championship, gets 2 playoff wins, one of which that he came back and got a win over. Was the offense horrible in the first half? Absolutely. Did the defense do its job and was on the field for 107 plays? Absolutely. But if he doesn't make those throws to Matthew Golden and Gunnar Helm, guys, you're out last week. You're out last week. It's just done. Your season's over. You come back in. You have a terrible execution. You can't feel the pocket pressure. You make constant errors, yet still you make several impressive throws, including 2 for touchdowns to Jaden Blue in wide open space. Both throws were incredibly executed and right on the money. Exceptional design play, exceptional play calling by Steve Sarkisian, and you're down at the 1-yard line. And honestly, yeah, you gave up a sack. Yeah, you got sacked. Yeah, your former college roommate came on in and ran it back 97 yards for a touchdown. That happened. Sorry, it's gonna be remembered in infamy. But your play design didn't hurt you. Cam Williams allowed to get past you, got bullied up, got bulldozed up, and the play design on second and short changes it. Quinn Ewers will be one of the most underappreciated players for Texas until eventually they go back to being 8-4, 9-3 in the SEC, and they realize what they had. That's what he'll be. So I hope Texas fans who are listening, they say, well, Quinn Ewers was always overrated. He couldn't get the job done. He still led you to 2 college football playoff appearances, a conference championship, a second conference championship, and he was a play away from going to a national title still in the Big 12. I mean, that's Quinn Ewers' legacy. He couldn't get the job done. That didn't mean he didn't get the job done. The way I compare him is a lot like Dak Prescott in the NFL. Dak Prescott, you would love to have him as your starting quarterback. When you're in the postseason, not so much. That doesn't mean that you would not be okay with him as your starting quarterback. You absolutely would be content knowing that he is under center. You don't have a quarterback, you'd be loving the fact that you have a guy. Like
there's a lot worse guys out there.
Lot guys worse out there. And again, Texas showed up. Texas never broke. Texas bent, but it never broke. It's fantastic in that sense. Defensively, they showed on out. Offensively, they had a couple of big-time plays. They had a couple of monumental drives. The play calling just struggled.
Bear, I would even take it as far as someone, maybe in the comments wants to explain it. Maybe pretty long-winded, I'm sure. I would really be interested to hear if someone was like, nope, his legacy at Texas is tainted. I don't even know if there's really an argument to say, like, what did that guy possibly do except win a national championship that you were like, yeah, man, no, he leaves a bad taste in his mouth. He leaves on a bad legacy. I don't even think it's an argument. You'd have to. The kid accomplished quite a bit.
The guy scrambles for a third down play, sets up the run for Arch Manning. Incredible play right before his knee goes down, pitches it, finds a way to be able to break on out. You get Quentin Wisner to be able to break on off. You get it set up for a touchdown.
Yeah, no, I know. I agree with you.
What do you get the grade for the season? We haven't talked about that yet.
I was thinking about this earlier. Right after the Jack Sawyer pick, or strip sack, calculating everything in, the roster at Sark had already built heading in, to this season. It was already SEC made. What was this? 21, 2, 3. This was his 4th year. So it was built with the blueprint that Sark wanted. Again, what I really appreciate with Sark is he is very hands-on in the salary cap stuff. And he's one of the few coaches that is, just like Kirby Smart and like Dan Lanning. They all want to be hands-on. And I think it is important for your head coach to be in. So I like where the direction of the program's going. This specific year, though, I think you had a really good roster. As we saw, the defense was better than it was last year. And I think we all kind of thought maybe that in the secondary. I think you were really solid on the interior between Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins. They really stepped up when they had to when you lost to Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. The defense was the best in the league. Offense, we talked about it though, Barry. It was clunky every week, even as consistent as the defense was week to week. The offense was just as consistently clunky. The schedule was very beneficial for them in this league. I think, again, I always say it. It probably gets annoying with our listeners. I say two things can be true at once all the time. Texas is a really good football team. They had, from an SEC standpoint, a very beneficial league schedule. When I looked it up, if you played Kentucky, if you got Kentucky and Mississippi State on your schedule this year, you had a relatively casual conference schedule. All relative. Doesn't mean you didn't have tough games. Y'all know what I mean. Like, it's just relatively soft schedule. Factor in, Bear, we talked about this. They played how many backup quarterbacks in these games? They played Michael Hawkins,
Michael Van Buren.
Michael Van Buren. The kid from Kentucky's backup came in the middle of the
Cutter
game.
Bowling. So that's
and I mean, if you wanted to add to the stat, I mean, context matters. Marcel Reed was not the starter to open the year.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, they played a ton of backup quarterbacks. Again, successful season. You made it to the SEC championship game. I'm going to go B+, Bear. I'm going to go back. I can't give it an A. I mean, you didn't win a conference title. You struggled that second-round game against Arizona State. And again, survive advance is what it is. But I did like the season. I'm going to go B+. I want to go A-, but I'm going to go B+. I don't know. You lost 3 games with that very beneficial schedule. Yeah, and you only lost to 2 teams, really, but 3 games. I don't know. B+. And again, I almost want to give it A-. I'm closer to an A- than I am a B there, because how good that defense was. And I do think it was the most consistent, best defense in the league. Good year. Hey, train's on the right track for Texas right now. They're in good hands with Steve Sarkisian, folks. Do not doubt that man. They're going to be fine at Texas. It's just tough loss tonight against a team. It's like I keep saying it. It's a buzzsaw. But for me, Bear, B+ for the Horns in 24.
A-. You went to the college football playoff in your first year in the SEC. You can't control what teams decide to show up on Saturday. You can't. You can't control that Florida didn't play their starting quarterback because they knew that he was going to be back in the week. They want to give him more time. You can't control what happens with a Cutter Bowling. You can't control what happens when you play against Mississippi State. You're giving your schedule. You make the most of it. Offensively, we knew what the problems were. They never seemed to correct it. They never had a 4-quarter dominant game, ever, the entire year. Defensively, they were the best unit in college football. They single-handedly won them multiple games. The fact they were able to milk the clock down against Kentucky, the fact they were able to milk the clock down against Arkansas, the fact that they were able to withstand a slight comeback despite the big pick 6 by Will Lee in College Station by Texas A&M. They did their job. The defense delivered on all stages. The offense just didn't give you a 4-quarter battle. However, you had key players on your offense really step on up this year. Matthew Golden, one of the most underappreciated players in the transfer portal history. Gunnar Helm was expected to be tight end number 2, ends up being tight end number 1. Silas Bolden had a couple of big-time returns. You also got a couple of big-time plays from Jaden Bloom. You got some big-time runs from Quintavious Weisner. Jared Gibson was the red zone back. Quinn Ewers delivered, and Arch Manning, when he came on in, delivered. He did. They didn't lose a game when Arch Manning came on in. So when I look at where this team is, when I look at where this offense is, when I look at how this season could have gone, you still made it to the college football playoff. You won 2 playoff games. You're a second down away from punching it in and potentially going to the national championship in a second consecutive year underneath Steve Sarkisian. Not many people thought that Texas was going to do this. Not many people thought that Texas was going to go on the semifinal. We heard from everybody throughout the offseason. Oh, you go learn what SEC football is. Well, regardless if they played against the Alabamas or the Georgias or the LSUs, because they did play Georgia and they got their teeth kicked in, especially the first time, they still delivered. They still made it to the playoffs. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been Oklahoma. Yet here they are making it to the college football semifinals, and they were a couple plays away from getting on in.
Yeah. No, you're right. I agree. I lean a little more A minus. You can convince me, and again, I can't argue that. I'm gonna go B plus though.
All right. So, what do you think for Texas moving forward? What's the one thing you want to see them switch?
Want to see him switch or just change? I mean,
Yeah.
I think you get a little bit more consistent offensive line play, but I think you could say that about a lot of teams. So I think they're kind of in that same boat where, like, it's first world problems. They're all trying to go compete for the national championship. They got to get that offensive line. I mean, they had some players. They're going to have some guys that played a long time in the NFL. I think offensive line plays down across the sport, even going down to the high school level now. I just think a little bit more consistency, depth. It's what everybody's looking for, though. So I think Texas is in that same market as all the other contenders. Just let's go see if we can get it done in the offseason, rebuild this roster. I think you got a future star, obviously, in Arch Manning that we can all be fired up about heading into 2025. And Bear, we get to see this matchup to kick off the season, August 30th next year.
Yeah. So
in the shoe.
Need a better offensive line. Cam Williams, I have no idea what you're going to do with him. I really don't. Do you want to keep him out there? Does he transfer? Does he go pro? Like, I'm not sure, but there's just not a good performance from him tonight. You're replacing a ton of talent next year in the interior offensive line. You got to be able to develop. Kyle Flood is a master at doing that, so I'm not surprised that they won't. I feel like that you got to have another enforcer when it comes to a wide receiver because you're going to lose Matthew Golden. I feel really confident on what you could be bringing in the transfer portal. I feel really confident on what you currently have on the roster with guys like Jamie French coming on in. Texas will be fine. They will. Ohio State is just a dominant team. So, SEC Unfiltered, people. SEC, born and bred. We said all the time. We talk about the SEC. We don't hide it. Ohio State's the most dominant team in college football. They're probably going to win the national championship by double digits. They're going to have a loss to a Michigan squad that they probably shouldn't have. Besides that, nobody should have doubted this team. Nobody should have ever thought this team was not good enough to win a damn thing. They weren't. They always were.
I agree. No, they always were. Dominant performance by Ohio State right now. You're right. I expect them big on the 20th. I hate saying that. It sounds like it's the low-hanging fruit, but the way this team's played it and what my eyes have shown me these last 3 games, they didn't play their best tonight. It was, I mean, Texas had their opportunities, but I really never felt like Ohio State was going to lose that football game.
Let us know in the comment section down below. What do you think about this game? Make sure that you like, review, hit subscribe. Follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Mock 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson. Check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the SEC college football season may be coming to a close. We still got college basketball, still got college baseball. This is your number one source for all things SEC on the race to 20,000 subscribers. We got transfer portal news. We got multiple things that are going on behind closed doors. We got a lot of things in the works here that we can't announce just yet, but we will in due time. So just make sure that you tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionados everywhere about this channel because we're not going away anytime soon. And I can tell you what, the SEC, for as quote unquote overrated it was this year, will be back on top. 2026, 2025, 2027. Big Ten, the SEC are going to run a lot of things moving forward. But for today's Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Ohio State, 28, Texas, in the final swan song of 2024, 14. Good night. Take care.